Guess who's back? Back again.
Back.
The boys are back. Tell a friend. Boys, Chris, Jake, what's going on, boys?
G'day, mate. How you doing?
Yeah, good, bro. Good.
Hello.
Chris, how are you, mate?
Not too bad. Thanks for inviting me on tonight.
Listeners, I really hope you enjoy my singing. Like and subscribe, and I'll sing for you more. Maybe don't unfollow me if it's that bad. So, just a heads up. But yeah, guys, welcome back. Fantasy Files, episode 3, officially. Should be episode 4 with Chris, but technically this is your first episode because the episode I uploaded got deleted. So, what can you do?
Thanks for pressing record on this one.
Yeah. Well, I guess, Chris, maybe we'll start with you, mate. Just a quick little bit about yourself again. Just a little bit of rundown, and then we'll go through your team real quick, and then obviously we'll go through what we're up to.
Sounds good, mate. Sounds good.
So, Chris, give us a little spiel about yourself, mate.
Yeah. So I'm Chris. I live in Hobart. Ryan and I met at a party last year, which is how I got introduced to NRL SuperCoach. This is my second year playing. Last year I finished 1952 overall. And this year I am hoping to go 1951 places better. As of this week, I scored 1511 and I'm currently ranked 199 overall.
So
and my
good.
team and my team value is 15.19 million this week.
Yeah, wow. Nice, Chris.
All luck. It's all
Chris,
luck.
what's your team name, by the way?
My team name is
Kid Leroy. I appreciate
it's meant
it.
to be like Kid Leroy.
I like that. Jakey, fill us in, bro. How's your week been?
Yeah, mate. Week's been good. Yeah, been enjoying the public holidays as of late.
Oh, so
Between
good.
Easter and Anzac Day, mate. Yeah, we've had a few good short weeks. So, walking into a 5-day week for work, it's new ground all of a sudden again. But yeah, mate, good. Playing some touch footy with you last night, and we had a good win last night with Granny. So yeah, that's always good fun. Yeah, didn't get to watch as much footy over the weekend though, but yeah, as always, mate, appreciate the invite back, and yeah, always ready to talk some more Supercoach.
Oh, mate, the listeners love you. You should see him on TikTok.
Yeah, look, mate, I'm not a TikTok person at all, to be honest, so I don't see any of that.
Give you
But
that.
yeah, always happy for a chat, mate, and yeah, happy to help, and yeah, it's good. Appreciate the invite. So it's becoming
Pleasure,
a
bro.
regular occurrence on this Tuesday night.
The people love you, mate. The people's champ. Chris will be the new taker though with his takes, I think, after this one officially gets posted. Jake, how'd you
see?
Jake, how'd you go, mate? What was your score this week?
Mate, I got 1237. Not a terrible score overall, but there was definitely a few tons floating around, a few hundred pluses with a few different players. Sandon Smith, that 120 odd in the end that he ended up getting. I decided to bench him last round, so that definitely hurt me. And I had Haas and May playing, but I went with that follow-up on Captain in Cleary, who only, I think, got a 52 or a 54. So, yeah, overall not a bad score, but yeah, there was definitely some big numbers out there. And as you just said, Chris, that 15-10, 15-11, that's unreal, mate. So, yeah, I'm hoping to chase that this week. But yeah, 1237 and didn't hurt my season rank. I've gone up to 42,000 now. So I'm way up there. I lost both my head-to-head. So yeah, mate, I'm falling to bits. No good.
What's your team value at currently, Jakey?
14.6 million with
Solid.
about 600k in the bank. So,
yeah. Okay, so
not
you're
too
like,
bad.
let's say 15-3. That's good. That's strong. You take that.
Yeah, not too bad.
I might not be as good as Chris, listeners, in terms of rank, but I'll take the pudding for the team value. So I'm currently team valued at around 15.5 million. Okay, that is my claim to fame, the money hoarder. So I did pretty well this week as well, which is great. I got 1487. definitely left some points out on the board, made some errors in regards to, again, the sit starts. We talked about this a couple of times in the past 2 episodes. But my rank went up as well, which is fantastic. I'm sitting at 4,322. So it's really, really good. But it's definitely, I'm still growing. My team's looking all right. I'm in a good spot. Definitely weary about the origin period and the major buy rounds. And boys, I think that's pretty much where we should start talking about. Now we're Magic Round this week, and Chris, I'll see you in a couple of days, mate, which is fantastic. What do we think about boys heading into Magic Round, let alone the buy period and the origin period? What's our thoughts? Chris, we'll start with you, mate.
Well, I'll start with Magic Round first. This week's an interesting week. There's a lack of, I guess, outstanding matchups beyond, I guess, Sharks versus Parramatta and the Titans versus the Dogs, and
Yep.
you almost wondered where, whether it might be a week where you don't trade at all, or you consider just making a few middle trades and stuff like that. But like TLT is just Team Lease Tuesday is just throwing a spanner in the works completely. A lot of these peaking cheapies, like Thomas Kent, he's out, so his price doesn't change. Casey McGluhands, he's out, so Tom Jenkins immediately comes a hold if you've got him still. In view of what you said in terms of the origin coming up and all the buy periods, I think it's basically any trade that you make, you've got to be real careful. If you are trading in a player who is most likely to play Origin, and the one that probably will spring to mind that we'll talk about later will be Kalen Ponga. Do you get him later this week? And I think any player that, a lot of the Origin players, or who could be playing Origin this week, they went big last week, so they are all trade-in targets. But you've got to really think and be careful about, a bunch of them, I would argue.
Yeah. Good shout. Jakey, what is your thoughts, mate? Magic Round, Origin, major buy rounds. What are your thoughts currently?
Yeah, definitely some great points there, Chris. I haven't really looked too much at the TLT yet, unfortunately, this evening. So yeah, I didn't know Casey McLean was out. But even when it comes to that Jenkins that you've just mentioned there, I have him, and he's probably high up there in the trade for me this week. Just not really, once again, liking what the Panthers are doing, which is still a shock. But for some reason, you just keep looking at them, ready for them to kind of bounce back and do their thing. So it's going to be one of those tough ones. And you could throw Kalen Ponga doing his thing as well. Kalen Ponga with that high break even, I don't know how much of a priority he is still this week. 82, I think the past 3-4 weeks he's been averaging around that 50 mark. I probably wouldn't be jumping the gun with Ponga. Queensland is surely putting him in the one jersey for the Maroons. But yeah, I feel like unless Ponga goes super big, you can maybe bring him in, depending on how much depth you've got in that fullback position moving forward, and find that nice opportunity. But yeah, definitely with the major buy round Origin, it's when to start thinking about it all. I know that I'm well aware that you brought in Nanai last week, Ryan. That was a great trade, mate. Super there, especially up against the tits up in North Queensland. Yeah, did very well, mate. So even Drinky, I know Adam called that one as well. So there's definitely a couple I've missed there. But yeah, I guess it all comes down to Origin, I guess. I could kind of start putting his foot forward for that second row position, because I don't know if there's any lock-ins for Queensland there. So yeah, a lot to discuss, mate. Definitely a lot to consider.
Yeah. Well, boys, I second your thoughts there. And Jakey, I don't know if you're aware, but Dave Fafita is not named this week. He's been dropped to reserve grade. So you super coaches out there are having Dave Fafita, rough. And for Magic Round too, as a Titans fan, that's absolutely devastating. So yeah, I'm a bit speechless. You got Chris Randall, who's a hooker / lock middle forward, plays front row sometimes, and you got Dave Fafita on $1.2 million getting dropped to reserve grade. Why? Put him to the bench if you fucking hate the guy. Like, he actually hates Dave Fafita. Des Hasler, I'm referring to, obviously.
Oh, look, it's hard to know. Look, I'm puzzled as well. Just like you, I don't know what Des is thinking. Exactly what you said. Why you? You've paid him 1.2 million. You've got to play him. It just,
Oh,
like, why play Chris Randall? Like, you want, Dave Fafita, ball wrecking, just wrecking ball at his best. But hard to say. Maybe he's really unfit at the moment, or maybe his hamstrings not okay, or something like that. Yeah.
I hope that's the
Yeah,
case. Like that's the
Des
only
might be
reason.
pulling out that. Yeah, Des might be pulling out that little Todd Payton special that he's kind of done with Jeremiah so far. Earlier on, he dropped him back to reserves for 1 week and then started playing him off the bench again. And then I feel like has started to put his best foot forward ever since.
Mm.
So it might be that little shake up, maybe start to appreciate the NRL and first grade again. Yeah, but at the end of the day, it would be crazy to kind of keep a $1.2 million player or whatnot just not playing first grade for you. So it's definitely a big move there.
But he really hasn't been that bad at all. Like I think like obviously had probably a 9 out of 10 week a couple of weeks ago when everyone's like, oh, do we buy? Do we buy? Last week probably a 6.5 out of 10. Like still solid, obviously. Um, but the guys who have come in to replace him, no offense, and they're good in their own right. Obviously, I wouldn't want to run at them personally. But those guys aren't Dave Fafita. They don't have that upside. I think Jakey might be on point too in regards to the Todd Payton shake-up with the Cowboys. Only reason I say that is because it's Magic Round, and that's something that would hurt a player of his caliber and stature and cachet to get dropped at Magic Round. Big Queensland home base, that would hurt and that would really sting. Well, I know that would hurt me if I was a professional athlete. Maybe that could be the sting he needs. I don't know, but yeah, crazy. Still crazy to me. Yeah, so I think Magic Round's going to be a hard one too. Obviously, a couple of boys are coming back from injury, which is fantastic to see. Guys like Kale Ero, bit of a pod. Dylan Lucas, obviously, we had that hamstring issue. It's good to see that he's come up quite well with that. But yeah, as you mentioned, Chris, like Thomas Cant, guys like him who have been cash grabs for a lot of people. Don't want to talk trades, but he's probably gone for me. But the major buy rounds, this is where I'm really stuck at the moment. I think a lot of you viewers might be the same. Very tricky. When do we start maybe letting go of them? I've been max trading every single week. I'm out of boost. Everyone knows that. I can't afford to potentially let go of guys like Haas and May. Do I just take the overall hit? Like I know Jake, you're a head-to-head player, so you're probably happy to potentially hold those type of guys during the Origin period. I want to quote that on yourself, but what are your thoughts, Jake, as a head-to-head perspective?
Yeah, I definitely will be holding Haas and May, regardless throughout that Origin period. In terms of my front row positions, I think I was mentioning it last week. I'm definitely stacked there with Tino and Horsburgh on the bench for me. So, but thankfully they've got that dual second row on them. So I'm hoping to somehow find a way to move things around and bring in another duel, move Tino down if Horsburgh doesn't make it, kind of have Horsburgh and someone else there playing through that origin stages. But at the end of the day, Horsburgh is definitely highly likely of getting picked as well. So yeah, I'm definitely very conscious of Origin. Always am every year, to be honest. And yeah, I definitely need to start thinking about it. I was looking at Nanai in terms of mentioning that can't trade out as he's not selected anymore. And yeah, Nanai was I guess a consideration after a big week there. I kind of like those mid-range players who are starting to play a bit better. Lucas, Fermor are kind of a few that are floating around for me too. And you'd think Fermor and Lucas definitely are some players that wouldn't be getting picked. So yeah, definitely need to start thinking about it for sure. It's really just my front row and second row that's super concerning for me though. So I'm actually not overly stressed yet, even though it's about 2-3 weeks away.
Jake, while I'm about to fling it over to Chris, do you want to go onto your SuperCoach for me and check how many current players that are playing for your major buy round and subtract people who you think will make the Origin team for me? Chris, what about your thoughts, mate, as a overall player?
I think with regards to a lot of the Origin players, I think that a lot of players or super coaches will have, the same issues that you currently have, Ryan, as to, what do you do with Terrell May, Corey Horsburgh, Payne Haas? They're all so highly owned. And I would argue that for the moment, you probably don't even have to worry too much about it. And the reason why I would say that would be because of the fact that I think you just watch closely as to what everybody else does. So because you're so highly ranked in the top 5K, I think with SuperCoach Gold or SC Gold, you can kind of look and just see when round 12 comes, you see who's being traded out. And for example, if you, for example, let's say 50% of the top 10% super coaches trade out Payne Haas, let's say, for example, then you could go, okay, well, I want to use his money for someone else during this, buy period. You'd be okay, say, selling him out, trading him out, because you're going to be less hurt if indeed he goes big, because 50% of, super coaches won't have him anyways. Then you think about you also didn't have to, calculate and see which teams are on the major buy rounds. For example, a good example would be Cam Munster. He's probably going to be playing. I think Melbourne have 2 of their buys on the major buys. So he's not going to be playing those games anyways. Then you have to ask yourself, well, if Melbourne are going really, really well, will he play the subsequent week in the minor buy round?
Yep.
And so Cam Munster is one where you go, okay, well, if he's going to play, if you think he's going to play those minor buy rounds, then hey, you keep him. But for somebody like, for example, Harry Grant, who's got a hamstring injury, he'll be back. There's no chance, Craig Bellamy will play him, in those minor buy rounds. So for the moment, you go, okay, well, he's definitely going to play Origin. He's then probably not going to play those minor buy rounds. Then you don't go close to him. You don't touch him at all. Same thing as something like Connor Watson, whose buys are all on the minor rounds, minor buys. And so he's not going to play any 12, 15, and 18, and he probably won't play 13, 16, and 19 as well, if that's where his buys are. So for the moment, I don't think you have to worry about who you have to trade out and sell out per se. I think you keep most of them. You just have to be mindful of not buying players who will be now going to Origin, unless you're a true believer in them, you're convinced they're going to go huge in the next 3 weeks.
That's really interesting to hear, and I think that's a really good shout for the community for sure. Like knowing when to sort of pull the trigger and when to sort of pull the handbrake. Definitely very useful advice, Jakey. And Chris, I'll go back to you with how many players you currently got for Origin. So you want to quickly look that up for me, Jakey? How many have you got currently?
Yeah, mate, sweating after that quick count. I'm actually sitting at 11, not including Horsburgh.
Okay.
So I know we only need a top 13.
Yep.
So feeling pretty good. I still have 2 boosts left. So yeah, when it comes to that, I guess that first major buy round at least, actually feeling pretty well prepared now that I've actually started to look 3 weeks ahead instead of usually just a week by week approach. So yeah, feeling happy actually.
Fantastic. Chris, how fast are you counting, mate? How many you got?
Oh, I have 8 possibly, and that would, and I'm including Corey Horsburgh. I'm including Jacob Kiraz as well, just in case. And if neither of them make it, then I've got 6 at the moment. Admittedly, for example, right now, in terms of the buys, for round 12, I have about something like 12 players not playing that round. So it could be problematic for me. Yeah.
Maybe you need to start taking your own advice.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly right.
I hope I'm up against you, Chris, that round. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
A lot of cash there too. I've got 10.
Fortunately, I'm not a head-to-head player.
Yeah, true. So I've currently got 10, and I'm excluding Corey Horsburgh and Ola Kawatu. I'm pretty confident. Oh, I missed Cleary. So I've got 9. Yeah. I don't think Karaz will make it. I'm pretty sure the other boys will be in there instead of him. So yeah, I'm pretty confident I got 9. I'm just having to sort of look who I would potentially have to trade out, I could probably dump out Shibasaki, and I could probably dump out a guy like Dewey, I guess. So then I'm pretty much at the threshold where I'll be okay. So that's not too bad, actually, which is good news. And I
Worst
actually have
case scenario,
291
just
pounds, mate.
use another boost, Ryan.
Oh, you want to lend me one, bro?
Early dig, getting it in.
Well, look, I think Dewey and Shibasaki are definitely playable players. So it turns out
Yeah.
you may not even trade out a single one of these Origin players, man. Yeah.
So annoying. All right, boys. Who's on your watch list this week in terms of potential buys?
Yeah, look, I've got some notes here, mate, because I've definitely started to assess. I haven't locked in any trades. Going off what you said earlier, Chris, where it could be one of those weeks where you actually hold on to your trades. I really like that Thomas Cant hasn't been picked at all, unselected. And with that 48 BE, I feel like if he is going to get any more game time, it's obviously just going to be coming off the bench. He's bound to start losing some money, but not getting picked. He just stays the same. So I really like that. And that other one for me, kind of looking at trading out, was going to be Jenkins. So I've really kind of done a lot of focus on my second rowers and centre wings this week. Dylan Lucas and Beau Fermor that I mentioned earlier, I think just with their dual positions as well, could easily swap them around. Great cover. That Origin buy period that we were just talking about as well. Negative 21 BE for Bowie after that 135 over the weekend. I know he got, I think, 2 tries there. So big score. It's not going to happen every week from the bloke. But he's an 80-minute player, week in, week out, hard worker. So, yeah, he's definitely in contention for me. But, mate, I've got a long list. Herbie, Carraz, and even a Sarko for me when it comes to trading out
Okay.
Jenkins. I've kind of like 3 centre wings I've looked at. I'm very annoyed that I lost over the weekend. Bad captaincy decision in the end and not playing Smith. If I change those 2 things up, I probably get some wins. So I could go heavy and maybe go a Cantor Ellicat. He misses that first major buy round of Origin because Storm have that buy. But I think from there he could be some good strong coverage. And yeah, I could go for that cash grab. Robert Derby, I think, is going to be way up there with that negative 48, low price range. Cowboys are starting to find some form. So yeah, no, mate, I've definitely got a long list here. So yeah, there's definitely potentially some good buys this week. But at the same time, I could easily hold. I'm starting to get some pretty good depth amongst my team. Yeah, it just depends if I want to do some upgrades there or not. So yeah, a little bit torn this week again, a couple of weeks in a row. So it's getting me good.
Trust the gut, brother. Trust the gut. Chris, what about you, mate?
Yeah.
So this week is interesting because I think that there is a lack of cheapies other than, as Jakey said, really Robert Derby is the only one. The other one would be Hugo Savala as well. They're the cheapies that are quite popular in terms of being brought in. I think they're in the top 10 of, top 10% of coaches. But I think that both of them are kind of questionable. Hugo Savala, he's 233K. He's got a break even of minus 11 and he had 65 last week. But, he scored a try and then he kicked 2 goals while Sandon Smith was in the bin. And I just don't think that's going to really occur again at all. And I think you want to avoid him because he could go back to, pumping out those, 12s and 13s. And then you've got an AE nightmare, every time you're trying to VC loop. Robert Darby is interesting at 360K. That break even of negative 46 is very tempting. But his base is 29, and before last week, there were weeks when he was scoring, in the low 20s and 30s, and it's hard. He's that 130 or 40 he scored last week, that could just drop out very quickly, and now you're stuck with somebody else. I would also say to Jakey that specifically Beau Fermor, he's an interesting one but there's concerns about Origin, I reckon. I think there's a very good chance he gets selected in the second row, if not, on the bench. Last year, he was very close according to, Billy Slater.
Yeah.
And so I think, Jake, if you're looking for a 2RF duel, I think you're really looking at specifically Dylan Lucas, at 646K, that break even of 47, and he's averaging 78. He looked great last week, 63, so close to being 90, with Brodie Jones, scoring in like the last minute. It's also a great draw because the best draw in the next 3 weeks is actually Newcastle. They are playing South without Latrell Mitchell, and then they play Gold Coast Titans at home, and then they also play Parramatta at home as well. And then they play Penrith in round 12 without all of the Origin stars. So no Liam Martin, no Dylan Edwards, no Cleary at all. So that's a really, really good look. You just got to remember, especially with Dylan Lucas, is that even though he played a week last week, his hamstring injury risk hasn't changed at all because it's the first 2 weeks where it's really, really high. So better this week if you jump on this week than waiting on last week. Another one you might even think about, Jakey, as well would be Selwyn Cobbo. He's 461K. He's got a break even of 58. Pumped out 71 last week against the Dogs. He's got a really great draw as well. So it's actually Newcastle, St. George, and Broncos that probably have the best draws in the next 3 weeks. And obviously he goes to Origin later, but over the next 3 weeks, he could go really, really big as well.
Does Cobbo even play Origin?
Yeah.
He's not in my 17.
I'm just going to pretend he does. I think it's just better just to be safe and go, oh, just in case. Just in case.
He could be that sneaky 17 again. I feel like that's definitely possible with that big body. Slater made that right call with Reece Walsh, I think, in that round 1 last year. So, yeah, Cobbo's definitely in contention for Origin. For me, I'd probably be picking Xavier Coates and Taulagi Murray for my wingers. So, and then, yeah, pretty steady with Hammer and Val, I think, in the centres there. So, yeah, if Cobbo makes it, he'll be going to camp, but I could see him 17 if he's lucky. So,
yeah, we talked about that last night, Jake. Just let him run right for like 15, 20 minutes, regardless of what the scoreboard is. I think he'll definitely do a job and big enough to play anywhere in the field, obviously. But I think if you're not getting Cobbo this week, you're pretty much, I probably wouldn't buy him. Is that a fair call, Chris?
I would say so. You buy this week or you don't buy at all in case he goes to Origin. And that would be for any player that you think might play Origin as well. You get them this week, so you have 3 games. Otherwise, if for 2, unless they're going 150 or something like that, then fair, it's worth it. But otherwise, I think it's a waste of a trade if you've got to trade them out afterwards.
Titans are going to get a win this week, finally. So, both Homer is going to go for another 130 plus. So, yeah, bring him in, guys. Give him some faith, even if he does go Origin. Then, all right.
Hey, he scored 132 when they lost. So you want the Titans to lose if you want both of them to go big, Jakey.
Yeah,
that's actually wild.
He can go bigger than that 130, mate. He can go bigger. Give him the win. Imagine a win under his belt. He'll be going 160. Put the captain on him.
That's crazy. 132 in a losing team that got decimated, actually. That's crazy. Yeah, good shout.
I actually think it was 135, boys. Don't sound short.
Jakey, for you, mate, honestly, I think might be worth getting Lucas and Fermor. As you said, you can use that dual position at centre wing, second row. That might be beneficial for you since you are hoarding, $700,000 in cash. You can definitely get rid of some of your dead weight or dead wood.
Yeah, very much so. I was having a bit of a play earlier. Camp, Jenkins straight out, Lucas, Fermor straight in. That could easily happen. Once again, with Kant not being picked, was also considering holding him, and even maybe, I don't know if this is silly or not. I think it's silly, actually, speaking out loud, but getting rid of Nicholson at the Raiders. They're up against the Storm. Storm love playing at Suncorp, but Nicholson will provide good coverage, I think.
Hate that.
Raiders
Don't do
aren't
it.
a part of that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm just thinking out loud. So for some reason, I just want to jump off Nicholson. You're telling me to follow my gut earlier, and my gut's just telling me get rid of him.
So much
So
anti-Raider. Trust the
yeah,
green machine.
it's crazy. I don't know what's going on. So yeah, look, that's definitely an option. Even like the Teddy Drinkwater in terms of like fullbacks with Iongi. I still have Iongi in the reserves there for me. Yeah,
Oh, mate.
Teddy,
Yeah.
great. Drinky, great. Probably both not too bad, especially Drinky, a great time to buy him. Teddy, not too bad, but I could probably see Teddy as the Blues fullback. So you're going to lose him for definitely for those 3 games and a few buys in between. Where Drinky, you won't get that first round coverage. And I actually have Pappy and Ponga as my other 2 fullbacks. So scrap that idea for me personally, but for all the listeners and viewers out there, that's just some of my thoughts out loud. Yeah, really though, I've said it in past weeks. I really want to start bolstering up my centre wings, and that's where I think that Herbie, Asako, and
Brad.
Sako pretty much. I feel like Herbie could be very consistent, very strong for me. Yeah, but I think, do I just keep building that little bit of cash, make sure I'm still hoarded up, and just go for that derby? So yeah, definitely struggling again this week. 2 weeks in a row. Usually I'm quite confident. I usually can spot some great buys. Yeah, but I think if I do make some trades, I think Fermor is probably my favourite at the moment.
Yeah, I don't hate that, mate. And if Paul is listening, I apologise, Paul, because I sort of talked him out of getting more. So my bad, mate. You could have got another 100 points. But Paul, you beat me in draft, so screw you. So um, yeah, for me, boys, for buys, yeah, I second all what you've said. Obviously, very well said. Robert Derby, I think he's a must for me. I think I just want to get a little bit more cash generation. I feel like I'm so close to a couple of guys, and Adam was saying last week, "Oh, go get Cam Munster in," and I'm like 10k off every single time I'm trying to get Cam Munster. So this might be my final sort of cheapie where I'm at. Oh, he's like essentially for me, he's like Harodi 2.0 in a similar situation, similar sort of price range, huge break even, better job security than Harodi. Obviously, Cowboys won 4 in a row. That's obviously a good thing. Dearden might not be at Origin either. That's obviously going to help the Cowboys. Yeah, I think Robert Derby's pretty much a must for me this week. And then my second guy I'm really looking at as a buy in bit of a pod, and I was talking to you guys in the group chat, but Xavier Willison from the Broncos. So Willison's been named at second row again this week, which is fantastic. Pretty good break even. He's got a break in of 34. He's getting like 60 plus minutes on an edge / middle. He's at for an 87k. I love it. I loved watching him on the edge last week. Big body, really athletic. He's only going to get better with more experience out there. And it's a Broncos team that's red hot, or that can be red hot, and they've got really good attacking upside, especially with Renault and Ben Hunt. And then Ezra Mann's inevitably coming back into that team somewhere. And Reece Walsh is still out. And you got the guy like that at the back sweeping. I think Willison's about to explode. And it's like what I felt with Nanai last week. Like Nano was the right buy last week, was obviously correct. I'm getting that same vibe with Willison. And I think, obviously, with that dual position, Jake, you froth a dual position. That's going to help me in the origin period / major buy rounds. A lot of things are ticking boxes. The minutes are coming there. Break even's not too bad. And it's a pod. So, like, again, that's going to help me climb the rankings. What's your thoughts on Willison, Jakey?
Yeah, look, to be honest, really good. I haven't priced him in. What's his price range really off the top of your head? I'm
487.
having a quick 487. Okay, yep. Yeah, so kind of, I guess, like that mid range, definitely. I didn't know he was a jewel. I do love a jewel. Good
He
on you,
will be
mate.
dual. Not yet.
And
Not
yeah,
yet.
he's not
Round
yet.
12.
Okay, yeah,
Round 12.
noted. Yeah, and he's been finding the line a fair few times recently as well. As you said, he's definitely a tall frame, solid boy, big body, and yeah, he's been getting a few cheeky meat pies. So good on him. So that could definitely be a move. Another one for me that I actually forgot to mention that was on the bottom of my list. Is AFB. I feel like he's dropped a little bit of price.
For
And
sure.
he's like, we all know what AFB can do. He's probably had more of a quieter season so far this year. But yeah, AFB, he's an absolute weapon. If he starts to get like maybe a little bit more minutes, he got 85 on the weekend, and that was against a pretty like evenly match against the Tigers there that they ended up losing. I could move, yeah, either Tino or Horsburgh down into my second rows and bring in AFB is another one as well. Will give me that round one coverage as well. So bye round, sorry, not round one. But yeah, that's just another one to throw in there too.
Yeah, love that. Chris, what are your thoughts on Wilson and AFB?
Ryan, I'd ask you back. What are your thoughts on Jordan Ricky being back this week, and then also Brendan Piacora and Jaden Hunt being on the bench this week? Do you think he finds 80 minutes, or do you think that when Piacora and Hunt come on, Xavier Wilson moves into the middles?
I think he will get 60 minutes ish, 55, 60 minutes, Corey Horsburgh esque type vibe. I think he's definitely starting. Ricky's already on the other edge. He's pretty much a lock for at least 70 minutes. I don't know if he's not going to play 80. Most likely will play 80. Pia Cora, definitely an edge player, will go on for Willison. I do think Willison will come back to the middle of the field. Reason why I say this is that they've got Jensen, they've got Smoothie, they've got Piacora and Pakes. Can you tell me where the other middle forward is? Because there isn't one. Wilson is that guy. So that means by default, he will have to go to the middle. I don't think Carrigan and Payne Haas are going to play 80 minutes. We all know that Tacklebot Kobe Hetherington is about 40 to 50 minutes, depending on the week. I think it's inevitable that Willison's going to get 60 minutes. And at the PPM that he's sort of looking at doing with extended minutes, he's going to be at value, probably 55 to 65 points, which is still money making. And that's what I'm looking at. So is that fair rationale, Chris?
Very good, very good. Can I give you some can I also give you some other tempting trades as well?
Oh, please.
Max Platt, 575k. He's got a break even of 119. He's averaging 57 right now, but it's 64 if you exclude the 15 versus Melbourne round 7 when he went off with the foot injury. He could be low 500s next week, which is pretty much the price that Xavier Willison is this week.
Crazy.
He plays Sydney, he plays Para, New Zealand, Bulldogs, then he has a bye and he plays St. George. So he could be a bye next round. He's also dual, and he really helps with the issues at hooker as well. So I know Jakey likes the dual, so he's hooker 2RF. Kai Pearce-Paul, he's 590. He's averaging 72 this year.
Crazy.
He's been try-assist central, 6 offloads a game, and that doesn't include the rainy game against the Broncos. So 2 try-assists already. He's got an awesome base at 49.
Yep.
The other one as well, actually, I do apologize. I've just read off Viliama Kickows. He's 590, but he's averaging 64. Sorry, KPP.
Still solid.
And then the other one, Brenton Nickera, he's 555k, averaging 56, and he's got a break even of 90. He literally could be 500 next week. You know, I know that his tries always mask his base, which is 39. But, all it takes is, Nicker Hines, dance across, switch that ball inside for Nicker to cut back in, and then he scored a try. Like last week, he just literally dropped the ball. He could have, just scored 30 just like that.
Yeah.
Really easily. So, thoughts on those players who could probably be at, specifically Plath and Nicker, who could be at 500 literally next week.
The only rebuttal I have for Plath is he could be Origin. 100% it could be Origin. And it'd be hooker if I was going to put in my team. Like, Mamo, you're done. You're out. Rabbitohs are trash. Sorry, Morgan. Rabbitohs gone. So that means, Plath goes straight into hooker. Jake?
Yeah, I really like all of those. Nickera, Plath. Another one for me that I've been keeping an eye on is McInnes as well. He'll get you 60 on average, week in, week out, very steady. Another dual position there as well. And I feel like that kind of takes on that for me. is it really a week that I need to be making two trades? There's definitely some potential next week. So yeah, they're some great shouts for sure. Some great mentions there, like all of those.
Yeah, I think Nicker is an inevitable buy. Like last year, he was one of the best 2RFs around. Just the Sharkies are hit and miss, eh? Like Nico Hines and Trindle, if they're off, he doesn't do well. It could be definitely a buy during the origin period. So a guy like potentially Tino, you could look at trading out for a similar sort of value, 1-for-1. Um, yeah, definitely some guys who are bottoming out in price, and there's definitely some good guys to listen at. Kai Pearce-Paul, I was looking at last week as well before I pulled the trigger on Nanai, but until I see the Newcastle Knights actually score some points consistently, keyword consistently, I'm going to avoid them unless it was pulling the trigger on Kalen Ponga.
Yeah, like we've obviously mentioned Lucas and KPP here, and I know you've just said that the Sharks probably aren't looking super and gelling too well. And that probably leads to the high expectations of them. When you look at their team on paper, there was a lot of talk in the preseason of, is this the year the Sharks are up in the grand final and making that charge? And they really just haven't shown it. Um, I feel like that's kind of we could say that about a few teams. I was saying that a couple of weeks about the Broncos. We obviously haven't seen the Panthers click again. But when mentioning KPP and Lucas, for me, the Knights look like the worst team in the comp at the moment.
100%.
I'm not, yeah. So it's like, why bring in KPP or Lucas when essentially between them and the Panthers, they are really the 16th and 17th team, right down there. So you just think, oh, do you pass on that and go for those stronger teams? And that's where I guess like Nicaragua definitely for me would probably be another great option. And then yeah, even with Plath as well, Dolphins have definitely started to show some great form recently. So with Plath and that high break even, I know you mentioned that Maroon's kind of opportunity is there for him, but I can see Plath going to camp. I don't see him playing, to be honest. Yeah.
Yep.
So I think there's a few boys ahead of him.
Yep. Fair call.
Jake, you said, why would I be looking at Dylan Lucas and KPP? And it's because Lucas scored 63 in just pure base last week, and KPP scored 64 in base last week. 0 attacking. So now they play Souths, they play Para, they play the Gold Coast. You're telling me that they're not going to score any points. If Dylan Lucas falls over the line, that's 100 right there. Literally 100 right there. Yeah.
Yeah, look, I keep coming on this podcast every single time that Ryan invites me, and it's because I get all these super tips and advice from the other third bloke that seems to be on this podcast every time, whether it's yourself, Chris, or Adam. So yeah, it's great. Like KVP and Lucas, they're obviously big bodies and damaging players. So you're definitely right. Like when the Knights aren't doing well, they're still getting that 60 plus kind of week in, week out on average. Yeah, but I guess everyone kind of has their risks essentially. So whether it's Lucas with his hamstring and all that kind of stuff too. Yeah, it just comes. There's a lot of players to choose from, how much money you got, and yeah, where you want to spend your money.
Yeah, well said. Definitely well done with the buys. What about sells? I'm just going to go straight for it. Clint Gutherson, you're done. Should have cut the ties last week. Still over about 100 break even. Could have got drinking in. Could have got almost 1,600 points. I'd be yeehaw and chirping to you boys. But yeah, typical Adam the scumbag always talks me out of something when I have that gut feeling. Screw you, Adam. Trying to sabotage me. Yeah, what about sells, boys? Jake, you start with you, mate.
I'll just give Adam a raps, mate, saying he has some great tips, and now you're just shooting him straight back down. Jeez.
Oh, who knows?
Yeah, for sales, like, yeah, look, I'd personally be getting rid of Gutho. I don't have him, I haven't owned him, but I would have been getting rid of him last week purely because I was seeing a similar trend in Gutho that I had seen in Ponga. I've still got Ponga, and I've just been riding that money train downhill with Ponga. He's going to be eventually a great buy. We know he has big scores in him. If the Knights find their mojo, we know what he can do. And yeah, I saw those similar traits in Gutho, and he's just going to keep going down. So for me, if you have Gutho last week, this week, I'd be, definitely trying to get rid of him. Yeah, and you can just go that straight swap to Drinky. It's definitely a good one. But yeah, just got to be concerned with that major buy and what kind of depth you have. For other major sells, I feel sorry for anyone who brought in Latrell. I don't know who's got him.
Morgan.
I know I haven't. I don't know if there's been any chat there. Morgs, come on, mate. Just playing with his heart there. He loves the bunnies too much. So, yeah, you can't blame him for, I guess, having him. But yeah, with Trell, it was always going to be a huge risk. He's going to be another player that's just going to drop a lot of cash. And once again, once he finds some form, he'll be a great opportunity to buy.
Oh, for sure.
As for other sells, though, I haven't really looked elsewhere. But when I look at my team, I know there's obviously a few outs with like Cant and Hiroti. Now with Iro back, I don't know when Hiroti's going to get another chance. They don't have anyone that's going to Origin in that Sharks team there. So yeah, Hiroti's made a little bit of money. If you're looking to maybe just go to another cheapie, you could just go straight to Derby. If you've got some cash in the bank, find that opportunity to upgrade to someone else. But yeah, really kind of struggling to find any other must-sells personally.
Yep. Chris, thoughts?
No, I think you boys covered it really, really well. So I'm just going to pile on at the moment on Adam. Look, my number one rule is literally do the opposite of what Adam tells me to do.
Facts.
Last week, I was at his place. I was like, should I sell? Should I buy Drinky? He said, look, I really want to, but I don't know if I can do it. I said, okay, I can't. I went to my car. I boosted straight away for Drinky. I put the C on him. The problem for me is I sold to Desco for Drinky, and I left Gutho. And I kept Guffo. Just because he just looks like the chef, the only chef on the St. George Dragons team. And Adam's got it right. Last week he said, "Look, the Dragons are just a very awful team, unfortunately." So I think I agree. Clint Gufferson goes this week for me as well. He's going to be, the first player I trade out as well.
I think the benefit is, do we all have 3 gun fullback or 3 fullbacks in general?
Yep. I got Pappy, Guffo, and Drinky at the moment.
Yeah, I've got Pappy, Ponga, and Iongi personally.
Yeah, so I had Gutho, Pappy, Teddy. The benefit is now with the flex position, we can get whoever in because we can just put a fullback up into the reserve position. That's sort of what I've done this week. So I've actually put Karaz in at flex and that just a straight swap in for Derby. So that makes sense for me. So I'm going to sort of regen some of that cash I lost from Gutho. Yeah, I think that makes most sense for me. Jake, I disagree with what you said earlier in regards to Cant not being a sell. I think there's too many guys in similar price ranges who you sort of need to jump on before it's too late. But yeah, definitely not too many desperate sells. Obviously, some of the halfbacks are losing money. I've been riding Jerome Hughes Jerome Hughes, he's been frustrating. But anyway, he's sort of got 62. Cleary's obviously had a big score in his 3-round average, but he's probably going to lose money in the next coming weeks. Yeah, Karaz has lost me some money, so definitely need some recash generation, or Pappenhausen's got 110 break even. Yeah, so definitely need to get some more cash going. So Gutho, hands down, has to go. Dragons are looking very bad, as you mentioned, Chris. Couldn't agree more. But the eye test now for me, he looks very slow. I need a guy who looks like he's going to potentially break the line and score. Yes, Gutho is a guy who is the cook or the chef in the kitchen, which is fantastic. He'll get those try assists, might get a line break assist, but he's not that guy like Pappenhausen, like Ponga, like a Turbo, who can just break the line and see you later. He's going to score. That is not Gutho. And without that upside of scoring tries, it just makes sense. I should have sold fucking 2-3 weeks ago. What are your thoughts on that take, boys? Jakey?
Yeah, look, I definitely would have been selling Gutho. So who were your other two fullbacks? Sorry, Ryan.
Pappy and Teddy, they're like mainstays. They're going to stay.
Yeah, so so you're definitely stacked. I personally, as I said earlier, do see Teddy being number one for the Blues. Storm have that bye for that Origin week. So you need to, if you're getting rid of Gutho, I feel like you definitely need that coverage. But as you said, you've actually sold out to bring Carraz down into that flex. Is that right?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, so look, depending on how the rest of your team with your centre wings is looking, I personally love that three gun fullback still. And that's another trade option for me even this week. With Iongi with a break even of 57, I kind of feel like he's worth another week of holding, especially with Moses back in that Eels team. They definitely looked a lot better, a lot more threatening. Ionga is that Gutho replacement. Definitely, I wouldn't say a chef. That would have to be Moses. But in terms of speed and looking electric, that's definitely what Iongi kind of brings. So there's also that opportunity for me, I guess, with Iongi and that drinky kind of thing. But I need to obviously be worried about that origin period. Yeah, look, it's a shame that Carraz has lost your money because he's definitely on the watch list for me. And I think he's got like a low 80 break even this week. So unless he goes big against the Titans, which, look, I just don't see it happening this week because I'm a Titans fan. That's purely my only logic on that one. But yeah, there is a chance Carraz might lose a little bit more money. 81 is definitely a bit up there, break even. But Carraz can score huge, and the Titans definitely are one of those teams in that struggling boat at the moment. So, yeah, I think it's not a bad move what you've done so far, mate. As for the camp, just to jump in real quick as well, not to argue with you in any way, mate, but yeah, he's when you're saying he's a must sell and you're looking for around that similar price range, is Willison really the only one that comes to mind for you? Because when it comes, like, you're
Not the
looking to
only one,
probably spend
obviously.
another 100, kind of thing. I feel like for some of the must buys.
Yeah, well, definitely more of a pod play for sure. He obviously hasn't got the lowest of break evens. It's just solid role, good team, not Origin. They're obviously boxes that are being ticked. Obviously, we can look back at what Chris said with some of those other Knights players, looking at Nicaragua. Like, there's definitely guys around. So I'm definitely open, and he's probably not a long-term hold. He's just more so getting that cash gen back up. Chris, what about you, mate? What do you think about the Carraz to flex or the fullback situation currently?
Yeah, I'll start on you talking about Guffo looking old. He's been looking old for like 2, 3 years, admittedly. But he reminds me a little bit of like, that old uncle who rocks up to the basketball park, like,
Yeah.
Don't reach young blood. And he's got the
Yeah.
worst jump shot in the world. And he just absolutely schools you regardless. That's what Guffo reminds me of, you know? And look, he's been scoring, 136, like twice, 100, was it? Against the Bulldogs the first round, like 119 or something like that. So in a way, you could almost think that you could hold him, in a way, but I agree that he has to be sold, regarding to Jake, talking about Teddy being Origin, that's just some crazy talk. It's dude, Teddy. No, it's gonna be Dylan Edwards. I'm sorry, Jake.
Or Turbo. He's like third.
Also, in regards to Kiraz, also that's some crazy talk, man. Look, he's a gun. He's a season keeper. He's gonna lose money. It's a little bit like the halfbacks. They all suck at the moment. They're all inconsistent. But there's no one to move to at that position. You're not gonna trade Kiraz out. You trade Kiraz out, you're gonna make money. But yeah, your overall position is just going to absolutely suffer, Ryan. Plus, he plays the Titans this week.
So yeah, 100%.
I don't think you can trade him out this week.
100%.
And you know how they're good at self-imploding,
Damn, was I saying Carraz a sell? I don't think I slipped that in there, did I? I just don't know if he'd be a buy for me this week. That's all. Sorry.
Yep, fair.
So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I don't think you did say so.
Teddy will be
I'm happy to I'm happy to put an AI clip onto you, Jakey, just to change that for you.
Yeah,
I'll dub it over the
fine,
top.
mate. Yeah. So For the first time ever, mate, I've actually decided to crack a beer tonight during the podcast, and yeah,
Good
that's
man.
gone straight to my head, mate. So yeah, those words are slipping in the wrong direction. So
That's
no
so
good.
funny. Chris, we sort of talked about this in the group chat. Captaincies. It's killing us. Well, especially me. It's absolutely killed me. Jake, we've mentioned this at footy as well. But boys, captaincy's been so hard to pick. Even like the VC loop, I still can't even get it right, which is crazy. I sent you a double shot at the cherry. I've got a new strategy, and I sort of mentioned this to you already, Chris. But Jake, this might be news to you. I can't remember if I told you already. But Payne Haas, Terrell May, minimum 80 points. Fair call?
Yep.
Upside to about 120. Obviously, we've seen that in the time being. Do we just go Payne Haas, Terrell May, Captain VC every single week? Because I was sort of doing the math the other day, and if I did that for the past 3 weeks comparatively to my 3 captaincies in this particular order, it was Gutho, Pappy, and then Cleary. I'd be 86 points better comparatively doing the other way around. What are your thoughts on the just stack the pack technique? Chris, what do you think?
Oh, look, you're playing some real money ball there. You know, honestly, I think it actually makes 100%. It really makes sense, honestly. Like the hard thing is obviously it's just that it's boring. I think in SuperCoach, you know, you want it to be fun. You know, there's nothing better when your captain goes for like 3 tries. Even if it's you're going for like Cobo or Mulatalo or something like that, it's just so much funner. But I think you're totally right. I think especially right now when it's not wet, because when it's not wet, like all these forwards, they've all got a license to offload, like May and Haas specifically. I would amend what you're recommending at the moment, and I'd probably say that for your VC, you go for a really, really high ceiling player. Like a Teddy, like a Pappy or a Drinky. And if they go massive, then you loop straight away. And if they don't go good, then you just go, look, don't risk it. Don't risk like a Cleary like last week. I think, did you go Pappy, VC, and then Cleary,
Correct.
captain?
Yep, correct.
Yeah. And it's just so disappointing when he goes 52. Like, and you just go, I could have literally gotten 100, literally just by captaining May or Haas. Yep. And I think that's a really good idea. I think it changes a little bit once Origin starts because, you just know that, May and Haas, they'll be there. And, in round 13, they may not play as many minutes. They might be rested. And the hard thing is when it rains. So, for example, this week, we'll just briefly talk about this week. It could rain on Saturday, Sunday. And I think Broncos play on the Saturday and
Sunday.
Tigers play on the Sunday, I think. Something like that.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden you're going, oh, that doesn't look great, especially if they just put the offload away.
Jakey, what are your thoughts on going for the big boppers at VC and C?
Yeah, you did mention that to us last night, actually, mate, at footy, and I absolutely love it. You look at what they're averaging, Haas with a 95, May with an 87. I compare that in my team, and they're my top 2 averaging week in, week out. So this week's even a great week to do it. You could chuck the VC on May, for example. He plays on the Saturday, the Tigers, Broncos on that Sunday, Captain Haas. Broncos are up against the Penrith Panthers. They're at home still. Yeah, even regardless of weather, we saw what Payne did last week in the wet as well against first place Doggies. So he scored, that 1, 2, 3.
Yep.
Yeah, I really like it. It's safe as houses. They got 123, 118 respectively across Haas and May. So yeah, I really, really like it, mate. As soon as you spilled the beans on that last night, I was like, it just makes sense. Yep. So yeah, I am tempted at the same time to maybe captain Pappenhausen, but they're up against a strong Raiders team as well, who have been playing some great footy. Yep. So yeah, when I look at my team, it definitely makes sense. I really, really like it.
Yeah. Chris, I'm wary of the time, so mate, if you need to jump off for your meeting, just jump off, mate. So don't feel stressed about that. But yeah, Chris, I also agree with what you just said before with the upside of another player. So a guy like Tedesco is someone I'm looking at this week particularly. Yeah, he's finally scored. He obviously got they got 2 tries on the weekend, but he's more than likely at least once every 2 weeks to probably score a try. That's realistic. The Roosters are only going to get better, and we're seeing that in the past couple of weeks, and especially with some of the other boys coming back in the next 5 to 8 weeks. I'd be guessing with Brandon Smith and Sam Walker. Again, only going to be better. So again, it's safe as houses going Terrell or Payne Haas currently. I think it's a no-brainer. Is there any other captaincy options that we're thinking this week off matchups or just pure vibes? What are we thinking? Jakey, any ideas? Or Chris, whatever?
Yeah, I said it. I said it earlier. Bo Fillmore. He's following up with another 135 guys. So if I bring him in, mate, he's
Close the
yeah,
camera.
he's getting one of them. Yeah, up the tits. They're getting it. They got to get one. So yeah, look. Yeah, as I said earlier, maybe Pappy, but for me, I don't know. When I look at my team, at least, it depends on obviously who you got. Nothing wrong with Teddy there as well. But yeah, when I look at my team, I'm really struggling to look elsewhere now after those front row shouts.
Yep. Chris, thoughts?
Well, this week I'm putting the VC on, and I'm trading Guffo probably to Ronaldo Mulatalo. He is 564k. He's got a break even 51. Scored 110 last week. He's back, baby. And, he's a confidence player, and, he wants to go big at Magic Round, and he plays para. It could be absolutely huge. You jump on if you think he's going through a rich vein of form. He does this like every year. Like he just bangs out a couple of tons just all in a row. That Friday is dry. And so I think that's what I'm probably going to most likely do. I'm also thinking about just admitting that I made a mistake, trading Teddy out. And, he's got insane stats. He's like 856k. He's got an average of 86 and he's got a 3-round average of 94. He plays all 3 major buys, but I'm thinking, he's got the buy next week, and do I just, buy him when he comes off in round 11? Really? But at the moment, I'm not really sure what I'm going to do other than that. Otherwise, I'll think about, putting the captaincy on Drinkwater. But if it ends up raining on Saturday, Sunday, I think I'm just going to have to buy Mulatalo and Teddy back. And then I'm just going to put the VC on Mulatalo and then put the C on Teddy is what I think.
That's so much vibes. I just want to give a special shout out to Randall in draft. He dropped Mulatalo for absolute nothing. So thank you, Randall. That's been an absolute steal for me. I've also sent you a trade, Josh. Guys, this is a bit off topic, but Dry Gray for Latrell Mitchell. He's pretty keen to get rid of Latrell. I think that's a fair deal.
I also just want to really quickly say that I have offered Iongi for Latrell Mitchell to Josh. If he goes Jai Gray, dude, I don't know. He's shouting me drinks this weekend. Anyways, good seeing you boys. I'm going to go.
Yeah, mate.
Enjoy the rest of the chat.
Thanks, Chris.
See you, Chris.
So, Jake, is there any final words? What do you
Besides just on that quick draft comment, mate. Yeah, I'd be holding on to Trell, whoever's got him. But out of the 2, mate, geez, if you get Gray out of him, mate, that's wild. Iongi's definitely a better one there, in my opinion. But yeah, who knows? Trell's definitely not doing great at the moment. So, but he is a danger man at times. So that's that draft. But yeah, in terms of looking at classic, mate. Overall, I'm shocked you boys aren't saying Teddy's going to be Blues number 1. That's really caught me off guard.
Mate, I already told you that Laurie Daly didn't invite like the top 50 luncheon that they had.
Oh, I thought you said Edwards didn't get picked.
No.
Teddy. In that invited.
Nah, Teddy, bruh.
Mate, I am so confused. I'm absolutely rattled. So, yeah, okay, that changes. Yeah, wow. Mate, 2 beers. Yeah, 2 beers straight to my Yeah, wow. Look, Teddy is, it could be a real great buy then for people who haven't been considering him. That's wild. I have to really, really consider my fullback approach now.
Saying you haven't got
Because yeah,
Tedesco.
I've been holding on to Iongi. I'm waiting for a great opportunity, and I was thinking Drinkwater could have been that move. But
Mm.
with him in that first round major buy, it's kind of like with Pappy and Ponga also not being available. I'm like in a little bit of a tricky situation there. But Teddy, yeah, Teddy, he's going to be getting you 80 each week at a minimum. If
Oh,
he's
for
not
sure.
scoring a try, he's involved with it. He's setting them up. He's everywhere. He's such a workhorse. Um, but I'm still shocked that he's essentially, in a way, not in contention for the Blues.
Yeah.
That's rattled me, mate.
Well, when you
No
think
good.
about it, he's probably third in line at fullback. Like, you think you chuck Turbo there,
Who?
surely.
Nah, see, Turbo for me, I'll be putting Teddy definitely above Turbo. Turbo is just too injury prone. If anything, you'd probably chuck him in a centre wing spot. I
Mm.
know you'd most likely have to kick out Crichton. You could even put him on a wing, or Crichton could go to the wing, allow Turbo to get back into that centre. The scariest the Blues, I feel, have looked over the past 5 to 10 years, or whatever it is, was when Trell and Turbo were in those centre positions. I thought Blues are going to go on a dynasty when you saw them.
Oh, for sure.
But yeah, but Trell and Turbo, whether it's injury or whatnot or suspensions, has really hurt them. And yeah, that's been, to be honest, a blessing for Queensland because chuck them both in those centre positions again and they're so damaging.
Yep.
So, um, yeah, for me, it's between Edwards and Teddy. So, and that's kind of why I've been holding off from Teddy, is because I just see him getting it.
Yeah.
Laurie
Does that,
Bailey's Blues coach again. He's going to go back to his old faithful.
yeah. Do you, does that change your opinion now? Would you trade Tedesco in this week for Aongi?
Um, only because I really liked what I saw from Moses and the Hills last week. I think Iongi is definitely a hold for one more week. He got 107, I think, 2 weeks ago. What did he get? Oh, they had the bye, sorry, last week. So didn't get to see that. But with a break even of 57, his predictions at 60 there. Yeah, for me, I feel like there's probably other sells for me between Jenkins and most likely Cant. I also have Jack Goz on the bench too,
Oh, mate, he's
still with
got to
that
go.
injury.
He's got to
Um,
go. He's
yeah,
probably must
so
sell.
there's definitely a few boys I can sell. I'm just really struggling. There's not anyone that's really, really jumping out to me like that. I'm just like, yeah, 100%, that's the pick I want. There's definitely a few names in contention. So, yeah, I'm sure there'll be some last minute thoughts and some maybe cheeky side messages to you, Ryan, saying, mate, what do you think of this one? And what do you think of this one? But I feel like we've definitely covered it pretty well
Yeah.
this evening with the list. So, yeah, it's been good, mate.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Well, guys, I think we wrap it up there. I was going to be on here for about 4 hours. Um, but we really want to hear from you guys in the comments. It could be on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, you name it, we're on it. Okay. We want to hear your trades of the weeks. We want to hear your buys. We want to hear your sells. And if you really want to, you can send us your team, and then your team might feature next week. We might start doing that. What do you think about that, Jakey?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Epic. All right, guys. Again, follow us on our platforms. Really helps us in the algorithm. You guys are doing really well in terms of the viewership, in terms of the short videos. But I would really like you guys to convert those views into the likes and to the subscribes. Again, that helps us in the algorithm. And you know the drill. I've already told you several times, guys. So, again, thank you to Jake. You're the man. Love you, mate. Good job last night in the TRL Grand Final. You know. And I'll see you, Jake, tomorrow night. And listeners, talk to you guys next week. Enjoy Magic Round.
See you, mate.